Hey everybody, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and notification bell next to it so you will not miss an episode. So, what we're going to talk about today is the walk-offs. So, people have been walking off of their jobs, several different places, right? So, the newest and latest one is, guess what? Ta-da! It is Walgreens. The people that work at Walgreens. That is the pharmacists, the technicians, and the staff. They plan on doing this next week. It could start any day from Monday to Wednesday. So it is going to be a planned, corroborated walk off. Reason being is they feel overloaded, overworked with the volume that they expect to be done as far as prescriptions, vaccinations, etc., etc. So that is the latest and the newest of all the walk-offs that you've been hearing. So what is the bottom line of this? The bottom line of what you're seeing? The bottom line is figure out other ways to generate money besides working a job so that you are not just dependent on a job. Other sources of income. A fast way and a slow way. Business, real estate. Basically, whatever you can think of. Other sources of income. Any ideal that is going to have money coming to you besides just depending on one thing. Right? That is the bottom line for everything that you see going on. Gradually becoming independent, financially independent, where you're not working because you have to work. You're working because you want to work. You got all these things going on. You got a source coming from this direction, 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 a source coming from this direction. And you are financially independent so that you don't have to walk off a job because you don't work for anyone. You work for yourself. And if you do work, you're just working because you're bored. Right? That is being financially independent. So that is a lesson from everything that we are seeing here. All of these walk-offs we're seeing, these strikes that we're seeing. Basically people are fighting for higher pay. People at Walgreens, they are fighting for more like a sense of humanity, right? Humanity. Because as you know, at some jobs, people like to overwork you and like you're short-staffed, overworked, and who cares? The bottom line is how much money are you making for the company? We need you to make as much money for this company as possible, right? So the lesson again is becoming financially independent, figuring out other ways to make money and not only depending on a job, right? So what do you get out of this, what you're saying? Because, usually people don't care unless it's affecting them. Like the UAW workers, for example. Do you care about that? What's going on with that? Kaiser Permanente and the nurses. Do you care about that? What's going on with that? All right, so people generally do not care about things unless it's happening to them. But this is the lesson in this. The lesson is figuring out other ways to generate money besides depending on a job. Like you're not staying at one job fighting for them to raise your income because you know how to raise your own income. You know what I mean? All right. So that is what is going on, the latest thing that's going on. So now I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this book, The Psychology of Money. I am reading this book. Has anyone read this book already? Okay, I am going to point out a few things that I thought was interesting in this book. And we will start with, we're talking about, guess what we're getting ready to talk about? We're getting ready to talk about the stock market. Okay, according to this book, Netflix, they talk about the stock Netflix. Netflix returned more than 35,000% from 2002 to 2018. 35,000%. That's three zeros. 35,000%. Have you ever heard of a stock performing 35,000%? So you hear 10%, 12%, right? 10%, 12%. Well, Netflix did 35,000% from the year 2002 to 2018. And did anyone tell you? Did anyone mention this to you? 2002 to 2018, that's a very, very long time. That's a very, very long time. So I think it's interesting how people make their money quietly and they're not going to tell you nothing. So if you want to make money, you're going to have to figure it out yourself. Don't you think that's interesting? 35,000%. And people aren't going to say nothing. So are you going to be that way? That'll be interesting to see if you're going to be that way. Wouldn't it? All these people around you suffering, but you know something that they don't know. Don't you think that's interesting? I do. I think it's interesting. Okay, they talk about the stock called Monster Beverage. Do any of you drink Monster? Like, I see it in the cans, but I don't. I have not drinking that before. Do you guys drink Monster? Well, Monster Beverage returned 319,000% from 1995 to 2018, among the highest returns in history. The highest returns in history. First of all, have you heard anything about this happening? Second of all, they say this is the highest return in history. So after it happened, after the fact, did you hear anything about it? Did you hear anything about it after it happened? So that is 319,000% from 1995 to 2018. So people were making astronomical amounts of money who were in these two stocks. And they weren't going to tell you nothing. And they still not going to tell you, even after the fact. This happened in 2018. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 5 years later, nobody has said anything still. So I guess that's the way it works. After you figure it out, then you keep your mouth shut. So I heard a guy say that before. After you figure it out, keep your mouth shut. But I don't understand why you wouldn't help anybody. I guess I'll understand it later on in the future. When you figure it out, you figured it out and you don't help anybody. So you guys, do me a favor. I need you to hit this like button and hit the subscribe button. Also, share the channel. Can you do those three things for me? I mean, I know it's very, very hard to hit that button. Like it's so difficult. All right. Well, that is it for tonight. And I hope that you have a great rest of your evening. And I will see you next time. Hit the like button on your way out. All right. Good night, everyone.